Alright, this is just a show and tell video during the process here of setting up my strobe lights. As you can see, I've got front strobes working. I haven't run all the wires where they go yet. This headlight needs to be replaced actually. It was damaged when I bought the truck, but in the Oldsmobile Bravada, these bottom corner lights aren't actually used. They were capped right off. It looks like it was made for a light bulb. As you can see, it definitely casts light out of it, but there was no light bulb in them, or a hole even. So I drilled my holes right where the light bulb would normally go, and it obviously, I think it turned out really nice looking. I'll show you on this headlight, because this headlight is now completely destroyed here. But see, I drilled a, I can show you. I drilled a hole right here, and this is the strobe light bulb itself, optics strobe light. I've had these strobe lights sitting in storage for almost 10 years, and they still work perfectly. The wires come up from the strobes and go into this little control box, and then I've got two wires run from there, and I just have them sitting here for now to make sure everything was working. I'll be buttoning it all up here, but there's two sets of wires that go to these boxes. This one is for the 12-volt power needed to run them. The other one is the control wires, and they're wired through the firewall. And let me just mute this radio here. And they're run into one of these little boxes. Strobe control module. It's got 3 different modes: on, off, and speeds. So you can have it flash the way it was. I'll change it here. It's probably going to be kind of difficult to actually see the differences. That's more like a, there's 3 different modes. 2 of them look kind of similar to what a police car's lights would look like. And then the third one just, I believe, blinks them both at the same time. The same time, alternating in 2 different alternating patterns, basically. I've tested all my bulbs, and I know that these are what the strobes look like. Obviously, the other ones are blue. These ones are white. These are going to go in the tail lights, which will make it look like I have blinking tail lights as well. They're relatively bright. So I haven't tested this other control module yet, but I'm fairly certain it still works. Everything all worked when I took it out of the car that I used to race around in. But I'm going to go ahead and button up some wires here and reinstall the headlights, and then I'll record another little video. I'll probably just append it to the end of this one with it finished. At least the front 2 finished. I don't know if I'm going to get to the back 2 today, so I may end up holding off on actually uploading it and actually piece it all together. But we'll see. It depends how I feel. Anyways, alright, fast forward a little bit here. I'm running the wires. I've pulled down that panel right there so I can run them in. See where I've got my system wire? It goes in through a tiny hole I made in that rubber boot so it doesn't leak water. You run it up under in here, and usually zip tie it to some of the existing wiring harness. Yeah, that makes me sad. I set something down and correct the screen on it, I can still sort of see what I'm looking at. But here's my recommendation as far as placing your control panels. I mean, these boxes are designed to be able to mount them, like say right up here on the dash, on the underside of the dashboard. But honestly, I don't recommend that, just because you've got a lot of wires coming in and out of these boxes, and you don't want your feet getting tangled in wires when you're trying to hit the brakes or something. That's not a good thing. So here's what I recommend. Most modern vehicles, and this is an old vehicle, this is a 98, but most vehicles have some kind of a center console, and most of them have a removable inside. See how this comes out. Now what I've done here is I've drilled a hole in the bottom of that I run all my wires up through, and these boxes are going to be mounted to the side right there of that. And the reason I recommend this is because a lot of cars have this center console, and it's largely empty. If you look under these, I can actually remove that. It may actually be easier if I do. Just 1 second here. There's usually on the shifter handles, there's a thing it almost kind of looks like a staple. See if I can get the kind of camera down in there, and you just pull that little guy out of there, and then you can take this off and actually go ahead and remove it right out of the way. And you can see I've got to do a little bit of tidying up down here, but I wanted to get all my wires run first. But make sure that you don't run wires that are going to be in the way of your shifter linkage. You don't want wires getting tangled in that either. I mean, chances are you'll cut the wire, but that'll short out your product, whatever you're running, and you don't want that. So, you know, make sure that you got it like tucked into a side where it can't get caught into that linkage. And then I just ran them through this hole here and then into the hole in this that I drilled. And you can see I've also got my equalizer in there. It's more of a crossover relay, but it's got an equalizer on it, a basic one. But it allows me to change the frequency and gain of my subwoofers, and turn them on and off, and then just a simple equalizer. But I don't use that right now because in order to use this, you'd have to come out from your radio into this, out of this, into an amp, and then to your speakers. So it's a little more complicated. They use that mostly for component audio, which is not what I'm doing right now. I may go component audio eventually, but this was just cheaper. I just have factory speakers in here. Now these are pretty nice factory speakers. This is the Bravada, unlike the Jimmy and the Blazer, is a more luxury model. So I think it's got a little bit better, quality speakers and some other things. There's something else that I'm going to show you later on that has to do with my system, where if you have one of these Bravadas, Jimmy or Blazer, a great place to hide your amp and your capacitor with very little modification. So I'll get to that, but for now I'm going to go ahead and keep working on this so I can show you what it looks like when it's finished. Alright, well, let me grab the light here and I'll show you. I've got my wires run. I've got them connect them. I usually use connectors or solder, and then I always electrical tape everything. Even if you don't think you need electrical tape, it never hurts to have electrical tape to cover all your connections. Keep the water out of there. And also, if anything has, you see I've got some silicone on that just to be sure that no water gets in the control box. And then I've got, don't ever leave anything just floating around. This is, it's zip tied in there. I don't know if you can really see it, but it's zip tied right down there, so it can't really move. And then wherever you've got your wires run, I'm running this one kind of underneath the air cleaner box, but always zip tie everything up and out of the way. You don't want wires getting in your fan. You don't want that, or your belt. So make sure that you zip tie these wires all in like I have here. I've got the headlights back in place, and then here I have the wires all run up inside there. Once I put those panels back on, you'll never even know that they were there. This looks like a little bit of a mess, but I'm just gonna zip tie all these together, just like what they would do at the factory, and you'll see it'll look a lot better with them all organized and zip tied. I've got that there. I haven't mounted those, actually screwed them down yet, but you can see I've got it set up to where it's keyed, but I also have a toggle switch on the lighting controller there. That would be my subwoofers there. Yeah. Get that. They're hooked to a switched, so anytime I kill the ignition all the way, these will shut off like so. See, and that way, if you accidentally leave it on, you don't drain your battery. Come on now. I'll go out front here. Now this vehicle has the auto lights. As long as you're inside the garage, the lights automatically kick on. But as you can see, I've got working strobes in the headlights. So, aside from a few things I've got to tidy up, I am finished with the front ones. Next time I'll finish the back ones. I don't think I'm going to do that today. But I will show you what I was talking about earlier with these GM SUVs, the Bravada, the Jimmy, or the Blazer. And as you can see my subwoofer box, but you don't see any amplifiers, capacitor, anything like that. Now these have this nice little handy compartment for the factory jack. Now mine wasn't even in here when I got it, and honestly it's kind of a pain to get open anyway. But you can see in here I've got my capacitor and my amplifier tucked in there all nicely, and you never even notice it because this covers it up perfectly. Yeah, it's a perfect size. I mean, there is a metal bracket behind this for the factory jack. Now you could probably pretty easily cut that out if you have a bigger amplifier. It's just I left it in because the way it perfectly fit snug with my amplifier in there, so it doesn't move around. So I went ahead and left it on there. And my next project will be to throw the rear strobes into these red brake lights here. You know, there's 2 screws here, and there's usually like a release, or you turn them to the side and then out or something like that, but basically it kind of latches in there and then screws tight. And usually it doesn't look like it, but usually there's a concave area, so you'll be able to get your strobe lights in there. Obviously I have to get a new back bumper, and I've got a little bit of rust here to fix, but other than that, she's a pretty solid truck. So that's that, and I will show off the rear strobes next time. Alright, finished product for now. You see no wires, nothing that can get in the pedal, and you see no wires here in the middle. These wires over here are my cell phone and iPod plug. They're not actually wires for the vehicle, but and then you'll just open this, and these will be actually bolted down, but I want to finish hooking up the rear strobes before I actually screw these down tight. But and you see, and the beauty of hooking this up the way that I did is that brights or dims, you can still see the strobes, because that particular spot is an unused bulb spot in this vehicle. So there you have it. I think I'm going to try to figure out a way to actually shut off the auto headlights, because the way I have it hooked up, it's only has power when the key is on, and right now, anytime the key is on, the auto lights come on. So maybe if I put in a kill switch for the auto lighting, that would be better. And I could just have the strobes on, or might even see if I can get some like blue LEDs to actually backlight all this. Not something really bright, but yeah, I'll look into that.